Hello everyone, today we have the Tisell Explorer 39mm. This is a homage to the Rolex Explorer 39mm Mark II, the one with the Lume in the 3, 6 and 9. The Mark I didn't have that. The reference number for this watch is 9015 and you can get this from the Tisell website. I was looking for Explorer 1 when I was in my Explorer 1 phase in my watch collecting, and I was looking for a 39mm Explorer 1 Homage. I had the Alpha 36mm Homage and I felt that the 36mm watch was a little too small for my wrist. I have a 7.25 inch wrist. So this Rolex Explorer 1 Homage came up either on YouTube or on an online search. In any case, I found the watch and got it from the Tisell website itself. It should be noted that there are two websites. One is the Korean website and one is either an international or an EU website. They seem to sell the same watch. I don't think there's a difference. They're both saying the Miyota 90S5 movement in it. So it's the same watch, but the prices are slightly different. Now, if you buy it from the Korean website, it's 235 USD. If you buy it on the international website / EU website, it's 331 euros, which at the time of making this video is about 560 USD. So quite a bit of difference. Same watch. The Korean website ships internationally, so I don't see why you would buy it from the international website. If you key in or if you type in Tisell watches online though on Google, the international website will come up first. So that's www.tisellwatch.com. Now the Korean website is tisellkr.com. So TISELLKR.com. So people would, I guess, click on the first link. Perhaps that's how they're getting sales in the main website, where the Korean website sells it for a lot cheaper. So that's just something to bear in mind if you're thinking of buying this watch. Now, going to the specifications of this watch itself. It has a 39mm case diameter, a lug-to-lug of 47mm. Now, that's just the lug-to-lug of the case itself. It has protruding end links, making the actual lug-to-lug, if you're wearing it on the bracelet, to be a huge 53.5mm. We'll get to the end link issue at the end of this after we're done with the specifications. The lug width is 20mm, making strap changes easy. I'm sure you'll have other 20mm straps lying around, or if not, it's quite easy to get 20mm straps. The thickness is stated as 12.5, so it doesn't look that thin on paper, but it wears pretty well on the wrist, especially since it's not supposed to be a thin dress watch. It runs on the Miyota 90S5 automatic winding movement. Now, I've not checked the watch itself. I don't really know how to open the case back, or I have the tools, but I've never really gone around to opening the case back. So I'll take the word of the website on this. The power reserve is stated as 42 hours, and the case back itself is a solid case back, so you can't really see the movement anyway. Going to the material of the watch itself, it's made from a brushed 316L stainless steel. So it's all brushed except for the sides, which is of a mirror polish, and the bezel, the flat bezel, which is also mirror polish. It has a sapphire crystal with AR coating, quite a decent AR coating at that, I might add. It has a signed screwed down crown. The water resistance is 10 ATMs or 100 meters. Again, that's something we'll get to later. It has no other complications besides the three hands, the hour, minute and second hands. So a very simple three-hander watch, which I like, and which is something I usually look for in a watch. Besides that, the dial itself is stated as a black enamel paint. It's a very good black enamel paint. So I've had the Alpha Explorer, and that had a more matte background. This is a very nice dark black paint on it. So it looks way better than the Alpha Explorer. I ended up selling the Alpha Explorer, well, also because of the size, but this watch is still in my collection. It has Super Luminova luminous paint on it, BGW9. I am not familiar with the Super Luminova paint variants. I assume this is a good one. It's on the hands and the hour markers, even the 369, which is similar to the Rolex Explorer 39mm, the Mark II version. I believe the Mark 1 of the Rolex Explorer 1 didn't have the luminous paint applied to the 3, 6, and 9. The bracelet is an Oyster style bracelet, which is again brushed, and it has a folding clasp with a safety mechanism and a glide lock. Now the glide lock is fantastic. This is better than even Oyster Perpetuals at $8,000, which just has a simple, well, not simple, but it has a folding clasp with no glide lock. That glide lock is very useful, I found. Okay, pros and cons of this watch. Now, the dial is really nice. I mean, that black paint, it's one of the better black dial colors that I've come across, especially for cheaper watches. Again, this is 200 plus USD compared to, I guess, an Oyster Perpetual, which is 8,000 or under 8,000, but quite a few $1,000s more. It has a very clean look, but again, this is the same look as the Rolex Explorer 1. It's very, very similar. So if you like the look of the Explorer 1, you're gonna like the look of this watch. No points to sell for the design, I guess. The Lume is also very nice to look at. I'll put up a Lume shot that you can see because of the Super Luminova paint. It looks really, really cool. I can't tell you how long the paint lasts, or the luminous paint, because I don't tend to actually time these things, but yeah, it looks great, at least for the first few minutes. The glide lock. Now, the glide lock on this clasp is great. I wish more watches had glide locks. I'm in a rather warm climate, so my wrist will swell up during the day, or if I'm doing physical activities. So having that glide lock allows you to adjust the watch without any tools. You can just take the watch off your wrist, readjust the size, and put it back on, instead of having to wear a watch on a looser bracelet. So sometimes I would have my watches, the ones without proper adjustment, wear a bit looser, so that when my wrist inevitably swells up during the day, it's fine. At least there's no circulation loss. So this is a really good addition, and I wish brands like Rolex would actually, well, I don't know about Omega, whether their watches have glide lock in their lower end watches, but I know Rolex does not do this for their lower end watches, so I wish they would when you're paying thousands of dollars. Now, the issues I have with this watch. One is the dial. The proportions of the dial is slightly off, I think, or way off. This is the same issue I have with the 39mm Explorer 1 itself, the actual Rolex Explorer. I feel like the 36mm Explorer has a better dial proportion in terms of the black spaces and the size of the hour markers. I find the 39mm Rolex Explorer has too big a dial. Well, because of the bigger dial, the hour markers seem a little too spaced out. I wonder if that's why they've not continued the 39mm this year and only issued the 36mm as the new Rolex Explorer 1 model. So I have an issue with the 39mm. I like the bigger size, but there's just something about the dial proportions that has kind of stayed my hand from purchasing it the last time when I was looking for one, or looking at purchasing a luxury watch. Now, this Tisell has a bigger dial than the Rolex Explorer 1. The bezel is thinner and the dial is bigger. Now, with the bigger dial, it has more black spaces. However, the hour markers are not bigger. I don't know if having bigger hour markers on this dial will look insane or out of place. It could make the watch look a bit too cartoonish, perhaps. But as it stands, to me at least, there's way too much black space on the dial itself. It's not a big issue if you like the 39mm Explorer, if you like the proportions of the 39mm Explorer, and you've seen this watch on the website, and you're okay with the dial proportions itself, then go ahead. This is just my personal opinion. I just don't really like it, so it has not gotten as much wrist time as I would like. The next issue, which I've mentioned previously, is the end link. Now, it's 39mm watch, so it should be quite wearable for mid-sized wrists, even some smaller wrists. And the luck of 47mm is decent. I think a lot of people can pull off a 47mm lug-to-lug watch. The issue is the 53.5mm lug-to-lug with the bracelet. And I mean, if you're wearing an Explorer 1, I like it best on the bracelet. With the bracelet, even my 7.25-inch wrist, even then, this watch looks a bit big. The overhang is a little bit too much for my liking. So if you have a smaller wrist, that's something to bear in mind. The other issue with the end link is the finishing, or the design itself. It's very rounded. The sides of that center end link, the parts of it that integrates into the rest of the end link, it's way too rounded. It's not sharp enough, making the watch look quite cheap. And that's a shame because the rest of the watch is quite well made. So if you have an opportunity to actually look at the watch first, I would say do it. Have a look to see whether you are okay with the way the end link looks. I think you can see this in the pictures itself. If you actually go to the Tisell website, you'll be able to see how the end link, that particular end link looks, and decide if that's something that will bother you. It does bother me, so a lot of times I have this on a strap instead. Now, one other issue, well, the last issue that I would say with this watch could just be my luck in terms of quality control. Within 2 weeks of getting this watch, the dial itself fogged up, and I emailed Tisell, did not get a response from them. I went to my local watch repairer, and they said that the seal was broken, or there was an issue with the seal, and so they had to replace the seal. It's a small issue, but I had to dry up the watch and pay to get the seal changed, and no support from Tisell itself. So just something to bear in mind. Again, this could just be a one-off thing. I don't think I've heard of any other quality control issues on other forums in relation to Tisell watches, but yeah, it could be a luck of the draw. I don't think it'll be as bad as the quality control on AliExpress watches. So yeah, I mean, buyer beware, I guess. And I think that's all I have to say about this watch. Not that much to say. It's a really nice watch if you're looking for a very simple Explorer 1 type watch or looking watch, and you want a 39mm version. I'm not sure if there are a lot of other options right now. At least when I bought it, there weren't that many other options. You can probably find ones from Pagani Express on AliExpress itself. Pagani Design on AliExpress itself. But I am not sure about the proportions of those watches. They tend to have thicker cases or bigger dials, so they seem to swing the other way, at least from my experience of the other watches. This is not just Pagani Design, more of the watches on AliExpress, because I think they tend to use very similar case shapes or very similar standard cases, so the watches would kind of have a similar look and feel to them. But again, I have not gotten any of those watches, so I can't really give an opinion on them. Yeah, so hopefully this review has been helpful. If you have any questions, just leave it in the comment. I'll try to answer all your questions. If you like the video and you like these review videos that I'm doing, please leave a like and consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. Thank you, and have a nice day, everyone.